Hello, people. We are back, and we are back in a big way. This is the 100th episode of Act 2 the podcast. 100 Centurion, Bean, 100 Buck, keeping it real. 100 episodes. That means 100 weeks of commitment, discipline. Blow them out, babe. 100 episodes. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to us. Put your pom-poms up. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to us.
I'm proud of you.
Yep.
How you feeling?
So
let's take a toast.
Have a little
cheers to 100. Whoop, whoop. Cheers to y'all. Oh, mine splashed up my nose. A little thirsty?
That's ginger ale too.
You wasn't supposed to tell them. It's bubbly.
Just so y'all know, we ain't do no drinking around here and consuming no alcohol. That's ginger ale. But it's episode 100. That is big. And we back. Act 2 the podcast. It's your boy International Walk.
It's your girl Tash, the co-hostess with the mostest.
And we are back for a 100th episode. I can't emphasize that enough. Not 1, not 2, not 32, not 79, not 55, not 89, not 92, but 1 fucking 100. That means 100 weeks. So that's how we get down. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to the people who listen to us. We do have a little small platform out there, people who listen and rock with us. So we appreciate y'all checking in our clips, our episodes. Some got more views than not, but you know, we wasn't here for all that. But we just appreciate y'all engaging in some of the conversation, engaging in some of the questions. But we are here with the 100th episode.
I was waiting for you to say 100 again.
You are
okay,
crazy.
wait. Before I was gonna wait to the end, but I'm a little anxious, and I just wanted to just let you know I am extremely proud of you for your hard work, your dedication. 100 episodes, that's a big deal. You did a lot, and I will honestly say, of course, it's a show. You want people to watch. You want people to do it for views. But I'm proud of your dedication. That I know that you don't do it for the views, like you just do it because you really truly love it. And I just got you a little token of appreciation and just wanted to because you're a champion.
Wow.
And I appreciate you, and just wanted you to have that. Just wanted you to have a little something to let you know that
wow.
I appreciate you, and I am proud of you.
That is cool. I appreciate
this is something that you wanted to do, and you put your all into it. You don't half-ass anything when it's something you really want to do. So I really appreciate seeing the dedication that you have had to the show, to your supporters, and
champion.
Yeah.
Champion. I appreciate that. I don't want to get all welled up and shit and cry.
Oh, go ahead,
but I appreciate it though. Thank you. No, I don't want to cry.
I was looking to see if a tear was gonna fall.
But you can catch this 100 podcast on Act2thepodcast.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, TikTok, Breaker, and Spotify.
Whoop whoop.
So,
what episode is it?
100. Okay, we got to get through it though. Okay. Yeah. How you feel? How are you? I'm sitting my Champions Cup right here, so you can see.
At this moment, you should glue it to the desk.
Right there.
At this moment, I feel good. I am, I'm an 8. I am an 8. I can say I feel better today than I felt in a few days, and I feel good. I'm an 8. Mentally, that's mentally. I always forget the order. Financially, financially, I'm a 10. No complaints there. Life is expensive as hell.
Yes, it is.
A dozen of eggs cost almost $5. I can't imagine what people are paying that eat organic eggs. You a fool. I mean, no shade, but an egg is an egg. I know. I didn't mean to call y'all a fool, but an egg is an egg. I mean, they all the same thing, but nevertheless, financially.
An aborted baby. That's what it is.
That's so harsh. That's so hard. Maybe a kidnap baby.
It's aborted.
Okay. So financially I'm a 10 because I'm happy, we can still afford eggs. And I'm not saying that facetiously because the way that prices are going with food, I know it's people out here struggling. So financially we're a 10. I'm not gonna ever complain. Work, oh my God. Work is a 7. I got a lot on me. People are out of work for extended periods of time. Holiday season, people are taking PTO, and I have negative PTO hours, so I'm gonna be there. And I just got a lot of work to do. It's crazy. He doesn't understand because he don't have negative PTO hours, and even if he did, it doesn't matter. Corporate America is a little different than the construction world.
Well, it's good that it's December, the first week of December, and you don't have PTO time. It's not like you one of them people who waited to December and got 12 days. Like,
yeah, but
you don't have PTO time. That's a good thing. Like, we did stuff this year. We had some stuff in the beginning of the year where you was in the hospital, but other than that, we went on trips. We did stuff.
I didn't have PTO time since August.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And physically, I'm a 7.5, and that's I'm a 7.5. Nothing ain't hurting. I just got some things to do that I'm going to do, and that's just that. I'm a 7.5, but I'm not complaining.
That's the lowest you can possibly be on this show.
Yeah,
7.5.
Which is good that you set that bar because a 7.5 is the lowest you can be on this show, but it ain't horrible.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm happy. It raises the bar for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that
stop it in my cup.
I'm sorry. I gotta remember it's there.
Stop talking with your hands.
It raises the bar for us so that even on our worst day, we only a 7.5. That kind of gives it perspective, and it makes you think to yourself, "Hey, don't let it get no worse than that." You know?
Yeah.
How are you?
I am.
No.
That was one of I felt like she would feel if I did that.
I'm sorry.
Like hollered in my ear.
I'm sorry.
I'm going deaf in this ear. She hollered in this ear.
I'm sorry. You always say you want me to have a little more enthusiasm at that junction.
I feel good. I feel great that I'm sitting here doing 100 episodes. I knew I would get here, but just at one, it just seemed like a slow crawl. This the shakiness, the not being as thorough as 100 or 55 or 72. So yeah, I feel great. I feel awesome. Finances, so I would say I was 8. Finances, I would say is a 9. So, finances is good. We got money and, shit is expensive, but thank God we could afford it. Work is, I would say, an 8. Not gonna go to a 7. Plus, you can't have work at a 7. 7.5 is the lowest you can be.
I thought I said that. I'm sorry.
No, so you got 7.5 for work.
Yeah. Make it an 8. Make it an 8.
And I'm gonna be a 7.5.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna tone it down.
Okay.
Physicality, I feel like an 8.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm up in the higher echelon of feeling good. 100 fucking episodes. 100 fucking episodes. Just gotta keep saying that, people. 100 fucking episodes. I don't know if y'all know what that means, but that means 100 weeks.
Yes.
100 weeks.
Yes.
Every, once a week, we sit down, we have a conversation about random stuff, stuff on the internet, stuff on our heart, stuff on our minds. We try to be transparent with the show and with y'all and try to show parts of us that people don't know and also keep some anonymity about us too. So, you can do that at the same time because we can't show y'all everything.
Right.
We can show y'all enough to be like, I fuck with them.
It's
I know them.
It's learning that line of discernment between privacy and transparency, or just having discretion because we share things on a discretionary basis, and anything that we hold back, it doesn't take away from who we are, or it isn't giving a false perception of who we are.
It's just like anybody else. Some things you want privacy in your life.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
So you've been a part of the show, 100 fucking episodes. What does it mean to have 100 episodes? Not only me, but you sat down. You probably sat down 98 times.
I was gonna say, okay, so let's say we did
3.
we did one best of show. And that was due to some technical difficulties, but guess what? It worked out. So I was, we were grateful that we had some material at that point to do so. We were in Jamaica, I think, that time. And then there were 2 episodes where I was not available. One was agreed upon. There were 3 that I wasn't available. So one was agreed upon. Second caused a little tension between us, and he was hot at me. And then another was agreed upon. For me, it just shows a level of commitment. It makes me proud of you to look at you and see the level of commitment and dedication that you have. And, we're transparent. We know between us, this wasn't my idea. And actually, the original idea was not for me to be the co-hostess with the mostest. The first show I was there as support for my baby. And then he's like, okay, do the second show too, so he can kind of get his feet wet. And then, just like when we got together, I spent the night the first night and never went home.
Yep, she dug her fucking nails in and didn't let go.
So he invited me to be his sidekick on the show, and he never let me go.
I think I've done 2 shows by myself.
3. That's 3. What you just said. Yeah. 3 shows. Yeah. 3 shows. 1, it was good vibe. 2, he was pissed at me. That's when we talked about seasonal affective disorder last year, and then another show was agreed upon. So I mean, it shows. This show has been it's become a staple in our relationship. We know when we're recording, we've kind of had to train our loved ones. Well, my loved ones, I'll say that, the time frame when we're training to not disrupt us. And it took a minute for them to come along with it. When we're recording,
you said we were training.
I'm sorry, right. When we're recording, it took a minute for them to come along, but they'll even say, no, call me when you finish the show, whatever, because they understand the importance. And I think sometimes, they say you teach people how to treat you. People will start to understand what's important to you by your actions. So you allow me to see how important this was to you by your dedication. No matter what we were doing each week, I knew this was important to you, and all of the things that go into it. Like, we record, and then there's other actions that are required in the subsequent days leading up to the release of the episode, and then even after that. So it helped. It really gave me a different perspective of what it looks like to be committed to something. And to be honest, I've thought about different things that I may have wanted to, not related to the podcast, but just in life. And you kind of set the bar for that. If I don't have that same level of commitment as you do I really want to do it? You know what I mean? Am I willing to put in the work that you put in? If the views aren't at the maximum level that, anybody would want it to be, am I still... And if I'm doing something different, it may not be views necessarily, but if the response or the results of it isn't what, at its maximum, am I still gonna love it? And that kind of set a bar for me, a measuring stick. So I appreciate you just, being who you are as my husband, as my friend, as my business partner. I guess you're my boss in this too.
What has it done for you? I mean, you sat beside me the whole time, and I'm not saying you was as dedicated as I was from day one, but you had 100 straight weeks or 97 weeks where you sat down next to me too, and I guess you created some discipline in your life where you carved out things, and you had to be a certain place at a certain time to do this because it was important to me, it was important to us. So you kind of created some discipline in your own life to do the show.
Right, and it gave me a different avenue of a different leg on my healing journey too, I can say, because some of the episodes have been very cathartic and talking about things that are very personal to me. Even if y'all may not have known all of the specifics, some of the topics have been because of personal relationships that have been happening.
Personal growth.
Yeah, so it has been a different avenue.
Personal
it's
weaknesses.
Given me an opportunity to think outside of the box. Certain situations that I thought I knew how I would answer something or how I would react to something, it's also strengthened my faith and my morals. Like, we've talked about the death penalty and abortion, and it made me kind of do that mirror check to look at yourself and really evaluate who you are, what you stand for, and in certain circumstances, is that really what you stand for?
Right.
When you're presented, and not that like anybody asking me questions presents me with any strong adversity. Like, y'all opinions are yours, your beliefs are yours, mine are mine. But I appreciate the challenge in certain situations of somebody presenting a different perspective to make me think like, I can kind of see it that way too. Or, I understand your perspective. Mine is mine. I don't agree, and let's agree to disagree.
Right.
And it's also, I will say, just giving a shout out to my girl Crystal. It's funny because, like you said, personal growth through the show kind of teaches you. It makes you grow up, because again, we may not agree with each other's perspective. You and her may not agree with each other's perspective. Not everybody is mature.
We rarely agree.
But
I appreciate her engagement, but we
exactly
rarely agree.
But not everybody is mature enough to know how to agree to disagree and still maintain a level of respect, and that's appreciated. And in some scenarios, again, you can still take in and not internalize, but you can kind of think about what somebody else's perspective is and how they may have reached that point, and determine people can change their mind. You can think one way, somebody present an idea a different way, and you can say, oh, that makes sense. Doesn't make you a hypocrite. It doesn't make you contradiction to yourself. People can change their mind. So that personal growth, that additional leg of my healing journey, it has given me discipline, because that ain't one of my strong characteristics of being disciplined and committed. That just isn't. So those are some things that it has that is provided for me, and an opportunity to talk. I like to talk.
She'd like to talk, as you can see. We got to get through this stuff. What has been the biggest what's been your biggest transformation from 1 to 100?
From 1 to 100, learning to listen. I think for me, learning to listen, and again, be aware.
There's a big difference between listening and waiting to talk.
Exactly.
So which one are you doing?
Learning to listen.
Okay.
And not just because I think in the beginning, that's probably what I was doing. Like, if you posed the question, or you proposed the topic, or in any discussion, it would just be like, okay, I have my opinion, my thoughts about this situation, and I'm waiting to get it out. And again, it just listening to yours and then responding to that, and taking that in to see how it fits into my opinion, because sometimes it may not. So it has been a tool in helping me to be a better listener, and to be a better communicator. Communication public speaking. I know a lot of people have that fear. I never have. It has always been a strong suit for me. But this helps. I
was going to say that would be my my biggest transformation, is like finding my words. Because in the beginning, I think that I'm articulate. I think that I'm somewhat intellectual. So I have words, but sometimes it's tough when you're on the spot trying to formulate sentences.
Yes.
And you got to get comfortable with talking. It might sound weird because we talk every day, but when your job or you're sitting down and the spotlight's on you to talk, and to have something to say. Anybody can just chat, but to have something to say for people to want to listen or people to want to hear, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Like I listen to the talk radio daily, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, could I do a 4-hour show like every day like these guys do? Like 4 hours of talking. And yeah, it's sports and pop culture and entertainment and things like that, but it's tough to talk.
I think you could.
And we only do it for an hour and a half, but still, it's talking.
I think you could if you knew that you had that time frame to do so, and if it was people who were equally yoked,
Engaging too,
right?
yeah.
Like where they would have valuable input, insight,
To
and you
pull
could
stuff
kind of
out you.
and bounce things off of each other and stay engaged. If you had someone that really wasn't as engaging in the conversation, then that's where you would find lulls, and it would kind of I think the conversation would die down.
Right.
And you have to be a little quick with it to know how to pivot and use certain topics as segues into other things appropriately, because we know that's something that we've learned as well. Like, we might be able to get some kind of like degree or certificate in communication or journalism because we've honed our skills.
The best segues are just like they come out of nowhere. It's like a coincidence.
It kind of falls in your lap.
The ones you plan don't work.
Right.
But ones that just like, wow, that's a great segue, that just fell out of nowhere.
But I think it shows your skills, and you've done this in several circumstances where you gotta kind of, not you pre-planned it, but in that moment you found a way to connect the dots to make it seem seamless where it may not have really been. So can I ask, what do you think in watching me, and I'll answer the same for you, what do you think you have seen, how have you seen me grow over the last 100 episodes?
Just what you said, and just listening. I used to realize that you were just waiting to talk, and like playing double dutch. And again, when you're having a conversation with somebody like that, it's not a slow tennis match. It's more fast, because it's like that energy in a one-on-one conversation. You match it, and you do it subconsciously, and you don't want to, and then you realize when you look back at it, this isn't the conversation that I wanted to have.
Wow, I never thought. And you feel tired after that.
Yeah.
Because you just said a lot of words. And wow, I never thought about it like that.
And you really might not know what they mean. You're just trying to combat what you're saying. You're combating what I'm saying. And it's like, that's, again, having that, just to notice, like, why are we sitting here trying to be right to each other? Like, let's just have a conversation. You have a perspective. I have one. Let's put it on the table and move on to the next topic. Like, we don't have to have a hard line in who agrees or disagrees or who's right.
One of the ways that I've seen you grow is learning how to, like you said, be transparent, but with some anonymity is one, I think, social skill, but also learning how to be honest in your opinion without being offensive and being not always politically correct, but just having social etiquette. Because, some people, like, this ain't no Howard Stern shock jock, say anything regardless of people's feelings. Like, you do approach the show with a human element, and again, you want to be honest about your feelings. You're not going to sugarcoat anything. But I think initially when we started the show, like, there were some things we would have to be like, I don't know if we should have said that, but we may have had to do some editing just so that we weren't censored.
How to say things is because you can say some stuff, but it's all intent. Everything, if it's not a bad intent behind it, and you know how to say it, then you probably could. But you can say shit harshly, brashly, and offend people, and we don't want to do that here. So pick and choose our words very kindly.
Yeah, I've seen you improve in that way.
What do you love about potting?
I think the freedom of expression. Now, again, we know we do have to be careful. Like, you can't just get on here and be on some Kanye rants, like just saying.
Well, you can. It's just going to pay for it.
Well, of course, without
and
consequences.
And it doesn't necessarily mean financial, but you might have to shut your social media down because people know who the fuck you are.
You can't get on here without some consequences. But I do appreciate just the freedom of expression. And I love doing it with you. Like, I could imagine being in a different situation and like, I don't know. I can imagine being in a different situation, but I can't imagine ever feeling like this with you. You are the person that I am most honest with in life. So why wouldn't I have that same comfort and freedom to talk. Like, I'm still talking to you, even though people are watching and listening. So I think it's just that freedom of expression. And also, not that I care about what anybody thinks about us. I love being being able to see the love that we share. We ain't always the in the best moods when we approach the show, but it's just a certain level of respect that we will always have for each other. And I know that's because of God first, and just because of our genuine love for each other. So when it comes to the podcast, I love just being able to have something additional in our life together with you, and an outlet, freedom of expression.
I love about podding is just being for 23 years I was kind of like muted and didn't say a lot, and I just think that I always knew that I had something to say, and that I didn't care about the views or anything like that, but I just wanted to show up every week and have something to say that was worth saying. I knew I could speak on a lot of topics. I can hold a conversation in any room. So, I just felt like I'm gonna flip the script. And I know a lot of people think that I don't like to talk, or, I don't talk to people, but I like podding. Like, that's what I like about it, is showing up and having something to say and talking about different shit, and getting her perspective. Sometimes when y'all engage, just getting y'all perspective, it's fun if it's something you really love. And I love podding.
Wait, it's so funny you say that, because you know how over the years there have been new words added to the dictionary, like bling bling and all that. Like, podding, is that a new word being added to the dictionary?
I don't know if it's in the dictionary, but it's in the lexicon of words.
All right.
Is there anything you don't like about podding?
The only, I guess sometimes it's like, life is life and things are kind of cyclical. So I enjoy when we have really meaningful topics to talk about, but I also enjoy what do you call it when it green? Evergreen material. For y'all don't know what it is. He taught me. It's where you just kind of have general conversation, and wherever the conversation goes, you allow that to guide the show. So I enjoy,
about current events.
Right, about current events. So I enjoy both of those aspects, the really meaningful conversations and then the evergreen material. Sometimes the depending on what's going on in life, you kind of get stumped. At least I feel like that. So, and we don't have a staff yet. So we are the writers. And I think that's one thing that I think that larger platforms may have, is maybe that they have other contributors. So we would love you guys to be our contributors. If sometimes you want to throw some questions and stuff at us, and that may not necessarily be the topic, but it could give us some material. You might want to
hear some different perspectives on a topic that you might be near and dear to your heart, that you feel a certain way about. You might say, what's their perspective on this? Not that you might care, but you just might want to hear it. What's been the hardest episode?
The hardest episode has probably been, we did a couple episodes where we talked about family. So one, we talked about maternal relationships. We talked about paternal relationships, and then we talked about the effects of like social media on children. That was really hard for me, and transparency moment. I was going through some things. I have children in my life who I love, who was experiencing some of the negative aspects of the whole social media world. So that it was hard wanting to have the conversation, but also wanting to respect boundaries, and then also the going mentally, knowing, what's in my mind, what's heavy on my heart, going through those things. So I think those, we talked about those episodes that impacted the kids in our life. That was pretty difficult, because it was like, sheesh, like this is hard, and it's one of those things where it's you think to yourself, is it better not to talk about it, because I want to be transparent, but again, I want to have respectful boundaries, but it's important to have those conversations.
Yeah, I think the hardest episode for me was the My Story episodes, 1 and 2. Just being, talking about what I have been through for the last 23 years for like the first time, like in somewhat detail, yeah, to the public. And I have never talked like that in front of anybody. So that was probably difficult for me. I remember being somewhat trepidatious about doing it and scared even a little bit. But, I said what I wanted to say. I told what I wanted to tell. And that was it. But it was tough.
Did you feel like a sense of release after, or like a
It was a range
lift?
of emotions because, again, I had never even discussed that in front of anybody. So, yeah, it was a range of emotions, like still a little bit fearful of what people would think. And then, a second later, it'd be like, I don't give a fuck what people think. And, but then again, it would be like, damn, I just don't want people to think that I'm a bad person, or, I would hurt them or something like that. So yeah, I can't, I don't know why, but it bothered me. But I got through it.
I was gonna say now 100 episodes later, because those were like, they weren't 1 and 2, but they were very early on.
Yeah. I don't know what numbers they were in. I can't remember, but they were my hardest.
Okay.
What was your darkest?
The darkest, I think probably would have been a couple. It probably wasn't the show itself, but it probably was real life. Not that the show is in real life, but real life emotions outside of the show bleeding into the show. So
In what way?
just in feeling emotional, like the show we talked about, we were talking about having hope, and just thinking about fertility issues that we've experienced in our life, and wanting to be as transparent as possible, and not wanting to cry, so that was a little difficult in having those conversations. But I think doing it with you too, it kind of makes it a little easier in those shows. But yeah,
I don't have any dark episodes, but I had hurtful episode, and it was like recent when my nana died. Like just even like I had to think about it before I said it now, but just even speaking about her, I could cry. So that was the fact that I got through those episodes and didn't like have a breakdown is, was like, damn, I was happy for myself. But just talking about my grandmother, that was probably the darkest. What has been the biggest upside in working together?
I think one of the things that the show has done is just reinforced our friendship, and giving us we talk all the time. Like conversations that we have on the show, we not like pre-show stuff, but like just every day, 7 days a week, have those conversations. So I think just giving us a platform to do what we love, but also it drives us to work on issues that we have for the sake of the show. It's like having to show up and work together, and you don't want it to be beef, and it don't always work out that way. Sometimes we get on here and it's like, all right, we ain't all the way there. Our issues that we may have been dealing with aren't all the way resolved, but we have to come here and do the job. But it still kind of encourages us to communicate so that we can get through anything. So it's been like a catalyst in our life to drive that communication. So
I think the biggest upside is just sitting with my friend and being able to further our conversation. We've always had conversations, but again, our conversations existed in a space where we played double dutch. And that's how it seemed like we got used to talking. And I mean, we've every once in a while we've had some like deep conversations, but they were more rare than often. And now we have, not because of the show, well, based around the show, but we have more in-depth conversations more often than rare
outside of the show.
outside of the
Yeah,
show.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and I think that's a part of the show has done that. Like
It's
you
been like
said,
a
just you being able to listen, and like it's like when you having a conversation with somebody and you feel strong about a topic, you want to listen to the opposing um, perspective so you can try to understand and maybe feel better about why you feel, how you feel about the topic. So that interaction has always been good.
yeah,
And
and
I love how, and it's not all the time because sometimes we get it fucked up, but I like how it bleeds over into our relationship and in our real life conversations.
yeah, it's like the show has been in a non-human teacher, like an additional reinforcer of improving. I don't want to say perfecting, but improving our communication.
And it's true. It's like the eye in a room. And
Right.
it's like 'cause we can have the same conversation without the camera, and it could go left, it can go right. But with the camera, it's like, we're not trying to be phony, but we also know it's an eye in a room, and that's weird. Like Big Brother watching.
Yeah. Can I mention? Well, go ahead. I don't want to derail the show.
What's the biggest downside?
I don't really. That's a great question. I don't know if there is a. You said
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it was a great question.
Oh. I can't think of any downside per se. One of the things that it has added extra work to our life. Is funny because I was thinking about how we say we don't want, like, we may talk about getting a puppy for like a day and then we change our minds for like 17 days. And then like the same with even a kid, not like we talk about getting a kid, but it's like at this point in our life, having an additional responsibility, no shade to like kids and parents, but it would be a burden for us. Like
I got shade. She don't have no shade.
Like, we want to travel and be able to do
baby.
things and, but it's like the show is that too, because no matter what we're doing or where we are in the world, like, we bring along the show, meaning that, if it falls during a time where we need to record, we got to record, or we have to upload the show.
Or we're taking where we're at, we're using the footage from where we are to put into the show.
Right. So, but I mean, the only reason why I say the downside, if you want to look at it like that, is like, this is our kid that we do got to bring along, that, we can be as free as we want and have fun, but it's like, okay, you on vacation for 7 days, 10 days. Remember, you got to work during that. Even if you ain't got to work at your paycheck job, but if I don't got to work at my paycheck job,
we got to take a laptop. We got to take a tripod.
Yeah,
you got to plan for that.
So, I mean, if we want to find a downside, it's that, like, you can't fully release and not do anything because we still have this responsibility.
I think the biggest downside for me is bringing the outside in. Because this is always fun. But like you said, sometimes we're not 100% in our relationship or our communication, and knowing we have to do this, we will, but it's not, and we've done this before, having beef, not having beef, being 60%, being 100%, and it feels the best when it's 100%, and all the other times or all the other circumstances didn't feel that great. So that would be the downside of just, I'm sitting next to somebody who I could say one word to and make her happy, and I could say one word to and make her cry, and vice versa. And that's not always fun. That's not always fun.
And let me just say this. I mean, of course, we ain't perfect. And nobody's perfect. No relationship is perfect. And we don't really care what y'all think. But I will say, this is the 100th episode. I would say there's probably been 4 where like we ain't been good. Now, don't get me wrong. We may have been like, we may have just rebounded from like, not being good. But I mean, to actually sit on the camera and do the show and not be good, I would say probably 4 out of 100 where we haven't been good. There was one episode that y'all didn't see. Well, I mean, y'all saw the episode, but we had to redo because we wasn't good, and we started the show and we got about 19 minutes in and was like, what's your problem? Like, and it ain't no physicality. We don't fight, none of that. But it was heated and it was like, nah, we ain't doing this. And we had like that episode was done. It's a wrap. We still got the footage. But then we worked through whatever we needed to work through, and we still did the episode that week. So, I mean, again, I would say 4, maybe 5. I can't even remember 5, but I would say maybe 4 episodes where we've been here and like, and nothing is fake. We still pray before every show. We do the show. When we kiss each other, it's real because I love him. He loves me. We kiss each other. We're happy. That's how we close the show. That don't mean we said 2 words to each other after the camera went off. But I'm grateful that, we are who we are and we love each other the way that we do to find ourselves back to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. If you was asked the question, what kind of content would you say you create? What would you say?
Real life conversations about love, about life, about us, about now, about real life stuff, like the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, the serious, the not so serious. Like, it's real life conversation. So that's how I would describe the content. The raw, the rugged, the ratchet sometimes, but always real.
Enough said. That was a promotion piece. That'll be a clip. So if I guess this question is directed towards me. So why was your second act potting in particular? Why was potting
your second act in life? So why was
I couldn't get the question right.
Why was potting your second act in life?
Just like I said earlier, I was an introvert, and I kind of still am in a way. I dibble in and out. I come outside sometime. I stay inside sometime. But I always had something to say. I always was smart, and I always had words, and I always had an opinion. I didn't necessarily give it all the time, but I always had an opinion. I always had a thought. So yeah, I just wanted to be able to grow in my new self as Walter, and have something to say. Be intelligent in my thought process and the words that I put out. And I wanted to talk to y'all.
So with that being said, like, what was the difference between like you said, you wanted to talk, you wanted to, say what you needed to say, what was on your mind? Like, why didn't you try to be a rapper?
No, because it was more geared, actually, so the bigger picture is media.
Okay.
So that's what it's geared towards being in media. So it's not like I want to be a rapper. Like, I don't want to do that.
If you went to college, do you think, I mean, this is in hindsight, so it probably would seem like the natural course of life, but did you ever as a child have thought, and I know we talked about this before, where you really couldn't see past being 18, but like watching the news or sports or whatever as a 12-year-old or, a 10-year-old, did you ever think about a career in media?
No, because, I mean, yeah, well, when I used to see Lisa Thomas-Laurie.
He loved Lisa Thomas-Laurie.
I used to see her. I used to think about media and the news and what it took to do that. But, and, Jim Gardner and shit like that. But I never really thought about
you doing it?
Music media or entertainment media. Like, that's a different type of media. I never thought about reporting the news or anything like that. But being in media, entertainment media, it's attractive.
But it wasn't something you thought.
No,
well, and also podcasting wasn't really something that we saw as children anyway.
It wasn't even invented.
Right.
And I only knew one person in my neighborhood with like DJ equipment, with stuff to like make sounds and
right. But even like sports broadcasting, that wasn't nothing that you ever thought. Okay.
No. I didn't listen to sports radio as a kid.
I think it's always interesting. Like, we know that there are, like you said, podcasting wasn't around when we were kids. But I think it's so interesting that there's so many different paths and avenues in life for people to consider. And when you get older, you would think as kids
that there's only a few jobs. You can be a civil servant, which is a group of jobs that come with that. Firemen, police, that kind of thing. Or you can be like a bus driver, water department,
blue collar.
electric, blue collar worker. And you
Or
get them
white
jobs,
collar.
and white collar, and you hold on to them.
But what I'm saying is, it's like you would think as an adult, you would think that kids would think about every kind of job and think about what they like or don't like, but it don't happen like that. Mm-hmm. Like there are certain careers as an adult now that I find attractive.
That you never even thought about as a kid.
That never even popped in my mind.
I never even thought about journalism school as a kid. Like I didn't know how to become a writer. Like I knew
people were writers, but you never thought about that.
Books, and I knew like those are authors.
Authors.
Those are authors.
Their name isn't Arthur.
Those are authors. But the process of writing, like I didn't know like there were writers behind shows. Things like that. Like when I watched TV shows when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I didn't know people wrote those lines.
Like even like when I think about,
I thought the people who were saying it was saying it.
Yeah,
seriously. Like I thought the people who was saying it, like when I first saw the Cosby Show, I didn't know people wrote that shit.
Oh wow!
Like I thought Bill Cosby was saying it, Theo was saying it, Claire was just saying it, and they rehearsed it and said it. I didn't know people actually wrote that shit. They read it, memorized it, and it's all a fucking show.
Well, I mean, I
didn't gather that as a kid.
At some point, knew that because of scripts and so forth. But like even jobs like I never thought about being an accountant. Mm-hmm. I never thought about, I've been thinking I've
thought about being an accountant. I've never thought about obscure jobs like being in media, being a journalist, I'm gonna work for the newspaper, like a Stephen A. Smith or something like that. Like I wouldn't even know how to get there when I was a kid.
See, even watching like Action News growing up, I never thought about. Not that I thought I couldn't do it. I just never thought about being a newscaster. I never thought about being a meteorologist. I never thought about being a judge. And for the last couple of weeks, we love court shows. I would just be thinking like, wow, like bypass being a lawyer. Like, how do you become a judge? I mean, I kind of know now, but...
You have to be a lawyer. You have to...
Well, you have to have some, right, so some Juris Doctorate degree.
Yeah, you got to go through the process.
Right,
ranks.
But it just again, I'm just saying all that to say it's amazing how when you become an adult and you're exposed to things, it's not like we didn't know these people existed as a kid, but it's funny how things pique your interest. Like, even, I always wanted to be a doctor. Never thought about being a nurse. Don't know why. It just never crossed my mind.
And see, that's what I'm talking about, the obscure jobs. You said I was thinking about being a judge. I would think to myself, damn, how you be a stenographer? Like that person that's sitting there, like, how do you get that job?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I never thought about being a judge.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, people would think about how do you be the judge? How do you be the lawyer? But it's like, who the fuck is typing like that? Right. Like, how do you get there? Like, what interests you to say, I want to be a stenographer? Like, that's
weird because they have schools specifically for that.
That's what piques my interest. Like, damn, how did you get that job?
Yeah.
Like, I listen to talk radio, and it's like, how did you get on the radio for 4 hours a day, making $6,000-$7,000 a week to talk about fucking sports?
Yeah. It's just interesting that we find ourselves here. And if you would have asked me 20 years ago, I don't think it's something that I would have ever thought that would be in our path.
Last question, I'll let you answer it. How it started versus how it's going.
Wow. I think it's looking at the bigger picture. It started great and it's going even better. I think that's the beauty of it. We kind of changed some segments and things like that, but the format, the content, the structure of the show, the consistency has, the format, the structure, the content has remained consistent. I was about to say the consistency has remained consistent. So it has remained consistent, which I think is the great part about it and which has made it a great product. When we speak more granularly, of course, like we said, we've improved our communication. We've tried to improve our production, which we're still going to continue to make improvements. So those things, when we look at the specifics, have changed. But I think the bigger picture, it started great and it's going even better. And I look forward to it continuing to go up.
That is 100 episodes. 100 episodes. 100. Now,
These horns suck.
I know, and you paid for them.
I bought them.
In light of 100 episodes, some things, and just want to talk about some things that have revolved around 100. So, how many Americans you think live to be 100?
Wow, the percentage of Americans that live to be 100 Americans. So I am going to say 1%. That might be that might be too many.
1% of Americans
live to be 100 years old.
Wow.
That's a little bit? I don't know. That's what. Wow. How many percent first of all, how many Americans are there?
A few million, 100 million, like 300 million.
So 1% would be 300,000. No, that's a lot then. No, I'm gonna say like 0.5%.
Okay, so doing this research, 1 in every 5,000 people, that's 85%, and 85% are women.
Wait. 1 in every 5,000 people?
Yes, and it's 300 million Americans.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's a lot of people.
So
and 85% of centenarians are women.
Yep.
Shout out to us, living long. Wow.
How many worldwide, you think?
Well, if it's 1 in 5,000, you know how I immediately thought about the Japanese. They live really long. And that's not offensive to me.
Italians live longer than Japanese.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So if it's 1 in every 5,000 Americans, and Americans like eat poorly and all that kind of stuff, I'm gonna say like 1 in a million. I'm gonna say 1 in every 25. No, that's a lot of damn people. But it's a lot of Japanese and it's a lot of Italian people. Chinese people, I wonder how long they live. Like,
it's 8 billion people in the world. 500,000 of them are over 100 years old.
500. Wow.
Over 500,000.
That's not a lot.
Out of 8 billion, it's not. It's a speckle.
That is a speckle.
But it's 1 in every 5,000.
And it's probably concentrated populations of people. Mm-hmm. Like you probably have some countries where the death rate. What is it? What am I looking for?
The birth rate.
Longevity of life. Like they die younger. I don't know what the hell the word is, but the lifespan. Mm-hmm. But then you probably have pockets of people like in Italy, probably in the more progressive nations that live longer. So that's interesting. 500,000.
Shit like that. People live long as shit there.
Yeah.
What have you learned in the last 100?
Wow, in the last 100, I have learned that life goes on.
People say that shit after funerals. What's that about? I mean, really though, like seriously, people say that after funerals. Like, what the fuck is that about?
Because the things that we've talked about that have been hard, that have been very
emotional,
monumental in our lives or in society, things that have happened that have been traumatic,
deaths
that have happened, right? Like we've talked about so many different things that have happened, and when you think about it, life goes on, and that's not to be dismissive of any of those things, any trauma that has happened to people, any tragedies, any lives that have been lost. But it just goes to show you that life goes on, not meaning like individuals' lives, they go on as well too, the survivors. But the next news story is going to be on in 5 minutes. The next, gossip blog is going to post, no matter how traumatic, a rapper's death is that's reported, they still gonna post gossip by the end of the night. Like, life really goes on. And that's not to be dismissive again of any trials or tribulations that we experience, but it's just to kind of give a little bit of to add, a realism to the fact that, God willing, we'll see the next day, no matter how hard or dark or um or low things get, because they'll be high again too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the thing that, we've had some emotional shows that y'all may not even have known about. My husband has helped me get through some dark times. I've helped him do the same, and through it all, we're here at 100. Life goes on.
Yeah, I think I'll piggyback on top of that and say that I've learned that, because like starting this, I was new to social media, and I didn't know how often that we're programmed and how much people engaged in social media. I didn't know that. Like, I thought people, fucked around on it. It was something to do. But some people's lives revolve around social media. And the stuff that we're fed, the stuff that we're programmed, the stuff that you like, all that stuff is real. And the stuff that you see on your timeline every day matters. Whether it's big asses, whether it's death, whether it's feet, like whatever you like, whatever that shows up on your feet, whether it's shopping, whether it's, handsome men, food. Whatever the fuck, food, like whatever it is that you like, that you shows up on your feed, that you ingesting every day is you. So, I didn't know that. So that's what I learned, that people really, really engage in social media.
And it's good and bad. Like, it has been a positive for us.
I think when you engage in anything that much, I think it's bad. I don't think there's no good I think there's good things in social media, but when you engage in it 98% of the time, I think that's bad. Just like if you was engaging in sex or going to painting with a twist 98% of the time, like, that's not good. Like, you need to chill.
I meant it's good and bad in social media. Unfortunately, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it in this day and age, social media has become an integral part in a lot of businesses. If you don't use social media, you may dampen your success, or just hinder it some. So that's why I say, for us, it's an integral part, because that's how one of the platforms that we use to engage with you is YouTube considered social media?
Yeah, it's all social media. People have pages, and you get, likes and thumbs ups and thumbs downs. But I'm talking about more of the general people. Like, let's just say
the over engagement.
Yeah, because I watch these Philly Death Row things, and it's like, there's a lot of engagement on social media that I don't even know about, and people be like getting murdered behind it. It's a lot of shit. Like, it's just crazy how much people care and involve themselves, and like lives be lost over the internet. Yeah. And it's just, in the beginning, that's my point. I didn't know that, and I had to learn that. Like, I didn't know people engaged that much. Favorite moments?
I think, my favorite moments are always when we laugh. I don't know if I have one specific. I do like when we do our 20 questions or whatever the shows, whether it's 20 questions or a variety of questions, because it gives us an opportunity in some cases to learn things about each other, as well as y'all are learning things about us. But any of those moments where we had the opportunity to laugh with each other, like I'm talking about a big hearty laugh, it really that does it for me. So I appreciate those laughing moments. What about you?
Was the travel. I really like the fact that not only was we starting a podcast, but the fact that I remember we did one in Puerto Rico, and we, like you said earlier, we was in Jamaica. So just the fact that we've done them international and in different places, like those were even though they probably didn't go right, internet ain't right.
We had to learn. Yes, right, we gotta learn at other places. They always
was like, damn, like we on a different. We not home in our studio doing it, in our office doing it. We are, abroad, and we, doing a fucking show. So that was always like the dopest part.
Yeah.
3 grams. First thing is Jerry Jones' photo. So I don't know if you saw it, But this is a photo from 1957. That's Jerry Jones back there. And they are stopping integrating schools. And this photo came out recently. And Jerry Jones was saying he was just a spectator. And he didn't know those guys. And, you know.
I don't believe him.
He just was a spectator. So what do you think about that? And can a person change since 1957? Do you think he's changed in a sense of if he was a 14-year-old kid? Because I've stood around and watched a lot of fights and don't necessarily mean I was a part of them. I'm sure you have. If somebody would have took a photo of a fight happening and caught Tasha, 5 rows back, and they wouldn't say you're a part of the mob. You can just be like, I remember that, and I was just watching to see who was fighting. I'm not saying that's what that is, but we've all been behind the scene. Now, if he was up there with the kid with the cigarette, it's like, okay, what the fuck are we doing now?
I believe that he was very aware of what was going on. And we could say, you know what, if he was opposed to what was going on, he should have been up there in the middle like, no, this isn't right, something to that effect. But who really expects a 14-year-old kid to make that kind of monumental sacrifice in a situation where society is literally at war with itself? Like during that day and age,
that was the thing.
That was the temperature. And I'm not excusing him, but in a way, he was 14. What have y'all done at 14 that you think back and like, damn,
don't want people to know?
You don't want people to know, or it's just not a reflection of who you are as an adult today. So with that being said, I wouldn't necessarily hold that again. I when I heard the story, I never knew that he was 14. I thought like maybe he was 18, 19
No, he was 14 in that. It was 1957.
Yeah, in that case, I mean, again, a 14-year-old boy. I will tell you this, a really quick story, right? I used to work with this guy, white guy, and this was between like 2002 and 2011. So this wasn't like back in the day. And he grew up in Belmar, New Jersey. And mind you, this was in the 2000s. And he was a manager in the department. And he said that he didn't like black people before he worked at that company. Now, he worked at the company before me. But he was saying that his only impression of black people, he never knew any black people personally. And at this company, he had black friends. Like, he was cool. His only impression of black people was from what he saw on the news. He never knew a black person personally until he worked at this company, which was like in the 90s and moving into the 2000s. Belmar, New Jersey, that's like 20 minutes outside of Philly. And at that time, he said to that day, his daughter could not bring home a black boyfriend to his mom's house, her grandmother, or his mother would have had a fit. Like, that just wasn't allowed. He said he wouldn't care, but she could never introduce a black boyfriend to his mom.
Lots of white grandmas are like that.
Right. So I say that to say it ain't just in the 50s. Like, there are people very present, and it's the society that he grew up in, the culture that he grew up in, the family structure that he probably grew up in that align with those beliefs. It doesn't mean that once he was able to learn different things that he may not have changed. So I don't know what his mindset is today, but I'm not going to hold anything that somebody, I'm not going to say anything.
I'm about to say, wow, watch your words.
I'm not going to say anything, but
because 14 is old enough to know some things.
14 is old enough to know some things, but 14 is young enough to have time to change. That's all I'll say.
About some things.
About some things.
There's some things you can't change from.
I'm just saying 14. To have time to change if change is inevitable.
Okay.
Now, and let's also not forget that President Obama, I'm sorry, President Biden, our current president, President Biden, once voted against the integration of schools.
Yeah. Well, we know he passed a ton of fucking crack laws that locked up black and brown people, so we know what type of vibe he come from.
Right, but that can be interpreted as crack laws in general, drugs.
No, he made the laws.
No, but what I'm saying is crack laws, we know that it primarily impacted black and brown people, but in general, the law wasn't against black and brown people. It was against crack. You following me?
No.
So crack laws, we know that it was we know that it was really against black and brown people, but the law wasn't written to say black and brown people.
Okay,
The integration of schools was specifically to allow black and brown people to go to school with white people.
They didn't want that.
And that's what I'm saying. So the crack laws, he could kind of hide behind the fact that, oh, it's to save the country from drugs. But the integration of schools, you knew that was about black people specifically, and you voted against it. So
you can't sweep that under the rug.
Yeah,
you
you
can't
can't
hide behind the crack laws. Like you made laws and signed them that locked up hundreds of thousands of black people, some still in jail for 40, 50 years. So you can't just say, I'm a hide behind some shit with that. Like, I don't, that's not plausible at all.
Well,
but
I get your point. We know the truth, but he can coax it that way.
Right. But it wouldn't fly. He would just look stupid. Deion Sanders left Jackson State, went to Colorado, paying him $5 million a year now. He was at Jackson State when they was not noticeable, not on ESPN. He went there, stayed there for 3 years. He got them millions of dollars, got Pepsi involved with him, got Doritos involved with him, gave up half his salary to the kids, got a new training room, barbershop, did everything to the school. And then he moved on. So what your thoughts about that? Did he do the right thing? Because he had some recruits that specifically because he gave the shine on HBCUs that purposely went there because of him. Some guys that did not go to Power 5 schools who said, I'm going to be coached by Deion. And then 6 months later, he bounces.
So my thing
and those, not to cut you off, those players expressed their feelings about it and decommitted.
So the thing is this, right? Is the expectation that I don't want to say society, but that these companies are going to are they giving their respect now to HBCUs, or are they giving their respect to Deion Sanders? He shined the light on the problem, so now he has kind of set the footprints for people to continue to follow, so that now Pepsi, Coca-Cola, whoever else, Doritos, Frito-Lay, they can come along and realize, hey, we can, contribute money to the success of these institutions the same way that we do to PWIs, and we can see some profit. We can see how our contributions can add value to these programs. Now, if they stop doing that,
it won't do that though, because the reason why they were involved in the first place was because of him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's a fault on them. That doesn't mean he should have to carry that on his back for how long. He shined the light on them. Now the light is shown. Does he have to keep holding the flashlight? No, y'all know. He's brought it to y'all attention that there is talent, there are skills, there are players that are worthy at these HBCUs. How long does he have to hold the flashlight for y'all to now take action? Now the follow-up action is on these major corporations. Now, would it have been nice for him to stick to it, to do that? Yeah, it would have been, but why should he have to continue to sacrifice? Maybe now he's opened the door so that others can step in and follow his path.
But if a person of his stature doesn't step in to follow the path, a person famous like him, then it won't happen, because these schools existed before he came. That's the point I'm trying to make. In sports, those schools, because of they're all black schools and because they're underfunded for whatever reasons, they can't compete with a Power 5 school. If Mike Johnson was the coach, the talent isn't there because kids don't go there, because they don't have weight rooms, they don't have doctors, they don't have this, they don't have that. So kids go to Power 5 schools. Those schools, his school only competed because of his notoriety, because he's Deion Sanders. So if a guy who is Tim Jones says, I'm going to do what Deion did and I'm going to go to Jackson State, the same attention's not going to go follow Tim Jones like it did Deion Sanders.
Well, what I'm saying is that's a
regardless
problem.
of what Pepsi and Doritos want to do, they're going to say, okay, yeah, the right thing to do is to back the school, but the notoriety left. It's not there no more. So Tim Jones doesn't bring that same that same notoriety to the school. So no, we don't want to sponsor.
But so think about this. Deion Sanders is one person. Jackson State is one school. How many HBCUs are there?
A lot.
Exactly. So him staying there will continue to help HBCU. Will continue to help Jackson State. What about the rest of them? We can't have famous people going to all these schools.
No, I think him staying in the circuit of HBCUs. And this is sports I'm talking to you, babe. Like, I don't think you have a idea. But I'm just saying.
No, I do understand that they're underfunded, but they're underfunded because they're not getting the funding. If these corporations
why are they not getting the funding?
Because they're black institutions, and just because he has notoriety. So I'm sure there are other coaches that have the same skill set as him. Yes, they don't have the notoriety, but you shouldn't have to be fake. It's one of them things where it's like, I'm going to just use, this is a different ballpark. Kim Kardashian working to free all these people because her name rings bells and, she's given more attention. But if Natasha Dees wanted to act in the same capacity, it's a shame. Now, I know that's how society works. It's the same that I wouldn't be able to effectuate the same change because my name doesn't ring bells like hers. And so my fight for freedom for people who are erroneously incarcerated would probably fall on deaf ears, but hers doesn't because of her name. The same with Deion Sanders. I understand that's the way it is. It shouldn't be that way.
But it is that way.
People need to make a change.
We talk about about acting how things are, not how they should be, and that's how things are. Like
So can I ask a question?
And you just made a statement that's totally wrong. You said that those schools are underfunded because they're black. No, those schools are underfunded sports-wise because talent doesn't go there.
Well, talent doesn't go there because they don't have the equipment and the support.
So there's
they don't have the equipment and support because they don't have the money.
Right.
So that's
and you're
what I'm
saying specifically they don't have the money because they're black. They have alumni too that don't give back, like Florida State. They have alumni too who are, one of the richest people in the world is black who went to a HBCU. So there's alumni out there who don't give back, like schools like Florida State and Ohio State and schools like that. There's a lot of white alum who give back to them schools. And there's not a lot of there's a lot of alum out there who are black who went to HBCUs, but they don't necessarily give back to them the way the Power 5 schools do.
But do you think that in addition to the alum, do you think the PWIs also get funding from corporations in addition to the alumni?
No, they get their funding from, this is what I'm talking about. This is sports. They get their funding from TV contracts. If the team is good, the team is displayed on TV, which brings in dollars. That's why they can pay a coach $5 million, $10 million a year. Morehouse can't do that. No matter who plays on the football team, they can't do that.
Well, I think they could if they were given the opportunity. And so it's almost like, I get what you're saying.
And I'm trying to tell you, they're not going to get the opportunity because these schools have been around for years, but talent doesn't go there because notoriety isn't there. He was the one that said, hey, I'm Deion, I'm going to go over here left and do this, which was a good thing. And I'm not saying he should have stayed there or he didn't finish. All I'm saying is there's a reason why the Doritos and the Pepsi will go away from that now, although they know because he showed them there's a problem over here.
So were they so in addition to Jackson State, him going to Jackson State, did that cause like a chain reaction for them to start supporting other HBCUs?
There's a few other black coaches like Hugh Jackson and guys who used to coach in NFL that are at different schools. They're not doing as well and they're not as good coaches as Deion.
Okay.
They're just there.
Okay, so if they had better coaches and improve the team. So this is something also that we have to look at the bigger picture. I understand that Deion has the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And along with that, he has the talent. I'm sure there are other coaches that have the talent. So we have to talk to our kids and say, like, don't just follow after the hype. Just follow after the hype.
But that's what I'm telling you. It's a better chance for a kid to go to a Power 5 school if you're coming out of high school than an HBCU because it's a better road into the NFL. And that's the ultimate goal.
What are the Power 5 schools?
Power 5 schools are Ohio State, Florida State, the Gators,
I think that's university.
Georgia, Alabama. Those are all big time schools that have,
I thought it was 5. You were saying call them Power 5.
I'm just saying, it's 5 of them, but those are all, I just named 6, but those are all big time schools that have the funding and are in the playoffs every year on ESPN, pay their coaches $5-10 million a year. Every kid in high school wants to go to Ohio State. No kid is saying, I'm going to Morehouse, work my ass off.
Football.
I'm never going to be seen on TV, and I'm going to get in the NFL. It's a fucking long shot anyway if I go to Ohio State. But my chances are better.
I think if corporations took a chance on some of these HBCUs, and maybe we hold some of the PWIs accountable to say, hey, if you're in the same state, support some of your...
and alumni. I forgot to say that. That's another thing that the Power 5 schools get. People that went to Ohio State, college people, white people, they give back to that school in an enormous way. I don't know what the number is, but it's like tens of millions of dollars they get every year from alum.
Well, let's look at it like this too. When you're talking
and it
about,
could be doctors, it could be executives who like, yo, I went to Ohio State and be cutting real big checks.
But let's look at it like this too, from a higher level. When you're talking about PWIs versus HBCUs, from the beginning, a lot of times those that attend PWIs are of a different financial bracket and can afford to go there than those that are going to HBCUs. So being able to give back, they already are at a different financial level to be able to do so. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to compare the contributions, because those people that are giving back to PWI, some of them may have never even attended, but their grandfather attended, and now they have it in their trust to donate $1 million every year to that institution.
But
where
that's
you
what
have
we're talking
HBCUs
about, dollars,
that
though.
are different. So that's what I'm saying. Just because you have, so we have to be able to offset the money that's going to the HBCUs to give them a fair chance.
And you got to be able to explain to Doritos, why are we cutting you guys a check? You're on TV twice a year.
You cut us a check so we can improve facilities, so that we can improve our staff, so that we can bring on the appropriate doctors and therapists and trainers, so that we can then attract a better skill set of players.
You know what you need first? A coach. You need a coach with notoriety.
Well, Deion Sanders can't coach all
but
the
I'm just
HBCUs.
saying you need a coach with notoriety to want players, football players, to want to go to that school. That's how sports work.
I get it, but Deion Sanders can't coach all of them.
I'm not saying he can. That's not my point at all. And I'm not saying he can. I just think that, now don't get me wrong, if I had an opportunity to go to college, I would want to go to an HBCU. But
if you were a top college, a top high school football player, would that still be your choice?
I would go to a Power 5 school.
I'm happy you were honest.
I'm saying if I had the like, if I was just going to college, like, I'm just going to college,
Not
I would want
football,
the experience of a HBCU.
Gotcha.
To be around blacks for 4 years, my people, and learn, all kinds of stuff. I think it's a hell of an experience. But if I'm a football player, been playing since 5 years old, and I'm trying to get into the league, I'm going to a Power 5 school.
I got you.
If Florida State is calling me, or the Gators is calling me, or Alabama, and then Morehouse is, or James Madison, like I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No.
I was gonna say very passionate.
I'm not doing that.
All right.
Last gram. It's a wrap. Herschel Walker lost Georgia.
Did he ever have Georgia?
Yeah, he lived there for a long time. Even though he resided in Texas, he was running for governor in Georgia.
Did he? I think he was a puppet on a string that did not work out right.
He is absolutely, and I don't mean this, whatever. I don't care how you take it, because it's going to come out wrong. He is absolutely the stupidest, dumbest person I've ever seen talk in my life. Like, he played football when the helmets were soft. Like, they fucked his head up.
When the UFO went up to the air, and then they went over there and they bought them eggs that was $6 because, gentrification is coming back.
He said they called me a coon the other day. I'm from the South. Coon, smartest animal out there. And it's like, what the fuck? You don't get the context of the word coon, bro.
You can't.
They didn't call you a raccoon.
You can't sugarcoat being called the coon.
Like, that's a
Who
Uncle
embraces
Tom.
that? Who embraces that?
He has got. I was watching the vampire movie and it got worse. I thought gonna get better. Like, he is the dumbest person I've ever seen, and then he is like the. You know how they had like the old cartoons back in the day, and they used to be like the big black dumb slave, and he fits that same stereotype where he's just like doesn't know what he's
Like,
saying.
okay, master,
He's
that's what
not
you want me to go out
educated.
there and say?
He's dumb. He talks about vampires. We want to be a vampire or a werewolf. What fucking governor or senator, whatever he's trying to run for, who says that?
I don't know the difference. Like, I mean, I know a werewolf got hair on it, but
You don't know the difference between a werewolf and a vampire?
I mean, like, when you look, like, what is he comparing? I mean, I know a vampire has fangs.
We're not doing that. We sound like him. We're not doing that. Fuck that shit. We're not doing that. Herschel Walker lost. He's a dumb motherfucker. Act 2 the podcast, 100 episodes. We wrapping it up. Your boy's the champion. Co-host with the most has hooked me up. Y'all see that? 100 episodes. I'm not blowing them no more. Y'all out there.
Suck.
Y'all can catch all 100 episodes on A2TP.com. You okay?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
You sure? You can catch us on A2TP.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, TikTok, Breaker, and Spotify. We appreciate you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys for fucking with us.
Stay tuned for 100 more.
Stay tuned for 100 more. If you fuck with us, you fuck with us. We appreciate it. If you don't, you should.
Oh, you want me to say it?
Go ahead.
Peace.
Peace.
Love you.